Sit!
Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
How's it going?
And we're talking Dynasty rookie tight ends. We have 6 more left before this saga is absolutely complete. So, Matt, let's dive in. Let's get a little lovey-dovey, shall we?
Let's do it, man. Colston Loveland is the first tight end, Michigan. 6'5" and 3/4, 248 pounds, 10-inch hands. He's 21. He just turned 21 at the beginning of April.
Youngster.
Actually, on the 9th. He didn't run anything at the combine. Last year in 10 games, he had 56 receptions, 582 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. He had a rush attempt for -2 yards. He did all that on 82 targets with 2 drops, 3.4% drop rate. And he had 290 yards after the catch, so about half his yards.
Garrett gave me the pleasure of doing Harold Fannin first and gave up a spot. This is your number 1 tight end overall. I will give you the pleasure to kick this off with Colston Loveland out of the team up north. Please tell me about this sexy wide receiver. Tight end.
Tight end. That's really the only negative, real negative thing I have to say is dang it, he played for Michigan. But honestly, watching his tape was a true joy. Mm-hmm. When you look at him as far as his movement skills go, his hands, his ability to be able to run all 3 levels of the field. You see him short, you see him intermediate, you see him deep. His hands are supernatural. He can pluck the ball out of the air differently than you see traditionally out of tight ends. He even has a little bit of nasty to him at times where you'll see a little pushing and stuff after the catch. He's not going to give you a ton after the catch, but he's got enough dog in him that he'll fight for a little extra and get a little extra here and there. But the thing that I really love, and this was hard because Warren and Loveland are both really, really good tight end prospects. But the thing for me was, if you look at what I want as far as a fantasy tight end, I want somebody like Colston Loveland. So for me, for fantasy purposes, not necessarily real life, but for fantasy purposes, I have them flipped. I have Colston Loveland over top of a Tyler Warren. And it's simply because I think we've seen it before in the past. His season before this, he put up much better numbers than he did this year, but he doubled anybody else in this offense as far as receiving yardage goes, despite missing a couple games towards the end of the year. And some of that was he was a little banged up, but I think some of that was they were just not a good team this year, and he didn't want to make anything worse for his NFL draft stock and potentially worsen an injury or things like that. But it sounded like he would have been able to play if there had been a little bit more to play for, maybe. But he truly does. He runs routes like a receiver. He catches the ball like a receiver. His movement skills are very similar to a receiver. And so I don't see an obvious path of him failing at the next level outside of it just being an offense where it's we just don't use the tight end as much as we should, which we've seen good tight ends before, like a Kyle Pitts that just isn't used like he should. So it is one of the more scheme dependent positions, unfortunately, for fantasy football purposes. But as far as his pass catching ability goes, it is truly top notch.
Agree, man. Super smooth. Actually runs routes. You know what I mean? You don't always see that of tight ends. So I think, obviously the blocking is never going to be, but we don't care about that, right?
We don't want him to.
Yeah, exactly. I think
it's more attribute, but totally fine with it.
Yep. Totally fine with it. So I guess the only other kind of thing I'll add to what you said is I think after the catch, I think he does a really good job of turning upfield and immediately starting to kind of maximize those yards after catch. I didn't see that out of everyone. Out of him, I did. And he's going to be able to outrun guys. I've seen hurdle guys. You know what I mean? He does. So I think I like him a little bit more maybe than you were letting on there after the catch. But just all around, not much bad to say. This is the kind of guy that you want for fantasy purposes. He's going to catch everything. He's going to make spectacular catches. The one thing I'll say is maybe he was a little loose with the football at times. I saw, a couple times the ball on the ground. So that's something that can be coached out and like, hey, dude, you just need to tuck that thing in a little bit. But really, really great. And I actually have him number 1 as well. So, not that that's a knock on Tyler Warren at all. Because I really have both these guys very highly rated, but Colston Loveland, I think he's less scheme dependent than a guy like Tyler Warren, who's versatile and probably needs a creative offensive coordinator to kind of get him involved and to maximize his. And we said that, but I think Colston Loveland, you send him out there, you send him out there. He's just going to win matchups and be open for your quarterback, and it's going to make it kind of easy.
I have them ranked. If you look at my rankings on Twitter or X, I put out my top 50 like overall rookie Superflex rankings just based on tape and in tiers as well. Because I wrote on there like these tiers this year, like people are so close, like these tiers are probably going to break off and are going to really differentiate these players. And I have Tyler Warren listed first and Colston Loveland listed second, but they're like literally equals
right next to each other.
I feel like Tyler Warren is safer than Colston Loveland, which is, I know it sounds weird to say, but I just feel like, Colston Loveland's got some injury history there. His 23 tape is better than his 24 tape, which is, take it for what it is. I remember versus Ohio State last year.
Quarterback was terrible.
Incorrect. And you're right. And last year at J.J. McCarthy versus Ohio State, he had 5 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown.
He crushed Ohio State on several big catches.
Yes, he did. So, listen, I don't have much to knock this kid with. Like, those guys are equal. I have no problem with him being number 1 at all. Like, there's a good chance after the NFL draft where, again, I want to see where they kind of land up in offense. That's going to be my tiebreaker. He'll probably end up being my tight end 1, too. He'll probably have a top 8 overall grade for me as well. And the only other thing that I'll say on the negative side, it was like I saw some of his jump ball ability. Like, he could
be a little bit more physical.
A little bit more physical there.
I would agree with that.
But besides that, man, I mean, this is a kid that he's a big receiver, right? He gets in and out of his cuts really, really well. He has those 10-inch paws, so his hands are extremely sticky. He's got a massive catch radius. His yardage after the catch, like you mentioned, like this is a kid that played running back in high school, so that does show. His yards after the catch ability kind of goes back to probably some of his running back days there. I thought he contorted his body well. I thought he was able to go grab the ball.
Great
and it's very, very big catch radius. He's very graceful in the air as well. So for me, I saw, again, for somebody who loves tight ends, like I got really excited about this player. And this is where it gets tough, right? Definitely in tight end premium leagues, like to get a Colston Loveland, to get a Tyler Warren, you got to be like, okay, do I want him? Do I want a Mecca Ibuka, right? Do I want him? Not everybody, but for me, in my eyes, like I have them higher than Tet McMillan, right?
So I put out my top 36 today, a video with my top 36 players, and it went Colston Loveland, Emeka Ibuka, Tyler Warren, Tet McMillan.
Okay.
In order. So, I mean, I'm with you. It's there right there in tight end premium anyway.
And that's the one thing where I say you're taking best player available, but in that same tier, like if you have Brock Bowers, like you're not taking Colston Loveland, you're taking Emeka Ibuka, right? Like they're in the same tier. So, but if you need a tight end, which most people do, like this is the kind of guy you want to snag because this gives you that Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, the guy because when you watch him, he is literally just a big receiver. There is really nothing tight end about this kid whatsoever. Yep. Which for, again, fantasy wise, this makes me like I just took Cialis. Like this is good stuff. Like we're about to party.
Right. I mean,
not you and I, but
right. Thankfully, and knowing that he's not great at blocking, and if he still goes early in the NFL draft as well, like many expect, first round type of guy. Hopefully, they come up with a plan better than like the Falcons did for Pitts.
Sure.
And they actually use this guy. So that's I think very much reassuring to me anyway. That as long as it's not Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith there, then I think we're all right.
My dream scenario for him, absolute dream, which I don't think he's going to fall that far, but it's possible, is his college coach takes him.
Jim Harbaugh.
He ends up in L.A. He
took him on a visit, didn't he? He went on a visit there.
Well, say Tyler Warren goes to the Colts at like 11, wherever they're picking, like pretty high, and then he falls to like 22 to the Chargers,
which is about as far as I think he could fall.
Yeah. If he goes to Chargers at 22, I mean, I might take him ahead of like even like Quinshon Judkins. Like he might enter like tier like 5th, 5, 6 overall for me in tight end premium. If he ends there, then I am extremely ecstatic for his upside, because then he slides right into as the number 2 receiver. And for what he could do in that offense in the warm weather, like I would be all over it. He'd be
Mike Williams being the number 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, Mason Taylor, LSU tight end, 6'5" 1/8", 251 pounds, 10 chance. He's only 20 years old right now. He's going to be 21 in May.
Second youngest, right?
Yeah, early May. Yep. He didn't run anything at the combine, but last year at LSU in 12 games, he had 55 receptions, 546 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. And he did that on 79 targets, 1 drop for a 1.8 drop rate, and 252 of those yards came after the catch, about 46%.
Yeah, Mason Taylor, if you don't know, his dad is Jason Taylor.
His uncle is
Zach Thomas.
Thomas.
Two
bloodlines.
Two arguable like Hall of Fame caliber players there. So, is Zach Thomas in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think Zach Thomas has made it yet, but he's one of those ones where everyone like always shows the side by sides and like, why is he not
Why
in?
is this dude not in? Yeah.
So, I mean, the bloodline's there. He's a bloodline beauty. And when you watch the tape,
Bloodline beauty. I like that. That's some good alliteration right there.
when you watch the tape, I mean, the bloodline's showing. Like, he's a very natural mover, kind of like,
Did you see that dude's gauntlet by any chance?
I did not see his
It
gauntlet.
was smooth.
Perfect. I
my
mean, like
favorite drill.
literally right down the line.
See, I'll bump him up then if that's the
It
case.
is right there.
Like literally right down the line.
Yep.
It was
It was-
crazy body control.
That's a huge drill for me at the combine.
Catches
So if I
were
would've saw
coming
that, he
so
gets bumped.
easily. Yeah. It was fantastic.
So again,
And he was running fast down the line too.
Yep.
He wasn't like, how some guys kind of jog it.
No, that's
like,
that defines the whole drill. You
Yeah.
run full speed and you catch every ball very fluidly. That tells me, I'm telling you, that's when I've said this on the show before.
Yeah,
That's
you
one of
have,
my
yep.
favorite. The gauntlet's one of the drills that really show me if you're going to be good or not. Like Ladd McConkey crushed it.
Yep.
Mason Taylor crushed it. And this is what you showed me right there. Like I swear to God, I would bump him up a little bit off the drill, because again, he kind of falls in that category of, not like, as a school record, 55 catches, 546 yards, not a ton, but he moves really, really well. He tracks the ball well.
This was another guy that suffered from some scattershot quarterback play, we'll say, after Jaden Daniels left. So it was rough this year.
I thought he showed good focus. I thought he was able to adjust the ball late, snag the ball off frame, really good hands, 10-inch obviously, so he's very plucky there. I thought his route, again, he's so young, there's so much room to grow. And the fact that he has that NFL caliber genes, like, again, and knowledge of the game and how to handle the game, like, that goes a long way too. Obviously, his speed, he's a 1-speed runner. He's not super fast. Doesn't get in and out of his breaks extremely well, but like I see some signs there for him to grow. Not a blocker, but again, don't care about that overall. But he, like I said, him and Harold Fannin were pretty much tied for my tight end 3 overall.
I kind of thought he was a smoother. He wasn't as smooth as Loveland, because I don't think anyone else. But I think he's a smooth guy, and he actually ran some real routes.
Yeah.
I mean, I started writing them. I mean, I saw a drag, a slant, an in and out, a post, a whip, a go. I mean, like if you're a tight end, you can pull off a whip route.
right. It's a tough one.
It is. I mean, there's a lot of sinking of the hips involved in that, and you're basically running it in and then cutting it back out to an out. You know what I mean? Like that's a tough route to actually pull off, and he did that. So I think there's some sneaky athleticism. I don't think there is high end speed.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that is interesting with him, because he's not an amazing athlete, but he does everything
Refined.
well, smooth,
Yeah.
refined, like
Natural.
It's all very natural. So yeah, it's one of those players where he doesn't have freak athleticism like you would have guessed with like these kind of bloodlines. Like you would think like, oh dude, this dude's a freak. No, he's a good
fast enough.
athlete. He's a good athlete.
Same thing. Like Harold Fannin ran a 4.71. You saw on tape, like he was fast enough. Like and that's where the 40 starts to like, oh, he ran a 4.7. He ran like, it's fast enough.
It's especially fast enough.
It's a big field.
If you can run good routes.
And that's
Yes,
the thing.
and
I
you got
think he
good
does
vision.
everything really well
And he's
naturally.
big enough that if he gets a little bit of separation, he can catch the ball away from his frame. So a little bit of separation is a lot of separation when all of a sudden you can reach, way over here to grab a pass. So you know what I mean?
He finishes my 18th overall player.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like here. I think Mason actually did end up as my third tight end right now, above Harold Fannin.
Again, and
I re-looked. I said 5 for Harold Fannin. I did have 4.
You have him at 4?
Yeah, Harold Fannin.
Okay.
4. So
No. And Mason Taylor ended up 3 for me.
3.
Aurora for 4 for me. But I had both of those guys very close. But yeah, there's not a lot to really nitpick in his game overall, which is kind of the nice part is he's got a lot of the tools and traits that you would want. He does it all pretty fluidly, pretty smoothly. Now it's the question of I think he's got a safe floor.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nice part about Mason Taylor. The question is, what is his ceiling? And that's what I just don't know.
It's 20.
He's young.
He could grow into a little bit. You know what I mean?
A little bit. He could hit at 25 and still have a 10-year career after that.
This is David Njoku age range, but he's not nearly as raw as
he's
David
way
Njoku.
more refined than Njoku.
So I think this is he's an interesting guy, just because I think at 20 years old you can still kind of get faster. You know what I mean?
Oh,
that's not out of the realm of possibility for this dude to kind of refine the way he's training and gain some speed.
And the nice part too is a lot of times these guys, especially if they're legitimate prospects, sometimes they're only there because their dad's name, like Brendan Rice last year, he was there because of his dad's name. He wasn't, and we kind of saw that this year. He didn't get any run or anything. But when players actually on their own merit are legitimate prospects, it always gives me a little extra confidence because they're more aware of how the NFL works, how the moment's not as big for them. It's not as shocking. He played at LSU, so big time program. He has a lot of those little minute things that you can't really quantify.
Correct. Yeah.
But it make you feel a little bit better about a player.
Yeah, he's somebody who's on my musket list. I will have some shares of him 100%. I think he should go in the second round of most rookie drafts. And he'll probably fall in the range of when we do these shows where okay, who are the rookies that you want to trade for that do much? I think my personal opinion would be I think you're really going to get what you want out of a guy like Mason Taylor if it all goes playing accordingly. Probably 2027 is when he's going to become a really solid asset for your dynasty team. So he's also going to be a really good trade person to go trade for next summer.
Yeah, after the year. Where do you guys see Mason? Last question. Where do you see Mason Taylor going in the NFL draft?
I can see him going in the second round.
I think he's probably good enough to go in the second.
I think that, and I think that's where he's kind of projected by most scouts. We're seeing at least. I'll speak for Lance Zierlein. He has him with a round 2 grade on him, so I think that's the case. And
so he'll naturally finish where we pretty much have him ranked as tight end 3 overall because he'll be the third tight end probably off the board, second round grade to a good spot, and people are going to draft him accordingly. But tight ends always slip in rookie drafts. They always do because people always want to fill those other positions, and everybody has a tight end who again falls in that mix of who
just they feel guy. Okay about. Yeah, right. All right. So anything else on him before we move
on? Just for what it's worth. We're kind of talking about the range of where these tight ends are going to go and how we kind of talk about there's 5 guys and then there's kind of everybody else. And that's kind of what the draft projections are saying as well. So you have the 2 guys that are supposed to go in the first round. Then right now, according to Lance Zierlein, the 2 guys supposed to go in the second round are Mason Taylor and Aurora. Then it's 3rd to 4th round for Fannin. And then everybody else is 5th round or later.
Okay.
So kind of what we've been saying is for fantasy purposes is kind of also true NFL.
That's why I like Lance Zierlein so much. Over the years, him and I have out of all the draft analysts who I read their draft scouting reports and stuff, he's the one I've always aligned with
closest.
There's some guys we're way off on. I just
sure.
I'm what are you seeing? But he's always
why did he love it so much this year?
Yeah, I feel he's literally one of the best. He's always been one of my favorites since we've been doing he didn't really come out until 7 years ago. He wasn't around when we first started, but yeah, he's really good. So I'm glad we aligned. Same thing, Dane Brugler's another guy. When he puts out his stuff, I'm oh, look, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And then there's dynasty guys like Matt Harmon when he puts out his receivers, ooh, we're aligned.
It feels good.
Next up, Gunnar Helm, Texas tight end, 6'5", 241 pounds, 9 7/8 inch hands. He is 22 years old. He'll be 23 in September. He ran a 4.84 in the 40 and a 1.69 10-yard split, but there's a story behind that. This was the guy that twisted his ankle really badly on the first false start on his 40, but he still ran it anyway. So the 4.84 really isn't his legitimate speed. No, I mean, I'm guessing none of these are, because I think
he twisted his ankle bad.
The 40 I think is first in all these drills. So the 20-yard shuttle is 4.4 flat. 3-cone is 7.15. Yeah, the pictures were gruesome, by the way, of that injury. 30-inch vertical. So, I mean, I don't know. Take all those with a kind of a grain of salt, I guess, is my whole point there. But last year at Texas, in 16 games, he had 60 receptions, 786 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns. He did that on 73 targets. He had 2 drops for a 3.2% drop rate and 420 yards after the catch for about 53% of his total.
Is this a me or you? Because then we switched, and so I'll go. So
yeah, you go.
Gunnar Helm. I actually, of all of the others, and I'm going to put him in the others category, Gunnar Helm was probably the one that I liked the most.
I think we're on the same page here.
So I think Gunnar Helm, when you watch him play, you see the numbers and you kind of quantified why or qualified why that was the case with some of these numbers. And people are like, well, he's not a very good athlete. But you watch him play, he looks like a good athlete there. He has that kind of long, slender frame. And there was a lot of things specifically, I really liked watching him around the boundaries. I thought he did a really good job on the boundaries, being able to high point the football, keep his feet in, showed that he had good body control. There were even times that he was hurdling guys and different things like that. So he showed a lot more athletic ability on the field than what his numbers would suggest.
Didn't say that about Harold Fannin.
Because I didn't believe it. So I am very interested. I think he goes up and gets the football pretty well from what I could see in his game. I'm very comfortable with him as kind of a move the chains type of tight end at the next level. He's going to be, Zerline has him as, I guess I should have said everyone else was 5th. I guess she actually has him 4th. I thought everybody else was 5th. So there's something there, but we'll kind of have to wait and see. But I see enough as a pass catcher, and he's not going to give you much in the running game and things like that. He just doesn't have the build for it. Yep. Much more lanky type of tight end. But color me interested for Gunnar Helm.
I am similarly on board, but I do think he's going to need to be a volume guy. So you call him a moving the chains guy. I'm calling him he needs to be a volume guy. I would compare him to, I mean, he is a more slender guy than these guys, but from a fantasy football output, he's a Jake Ferguson type. He's a Dalton Schultz type who, when they get the volume, they're useful. When they're not, they kind of fade into that lower range. You know what I mean? If they're getting the targets, they're up there at tight end 7. If they're kind of scattershot, they're back there at tight end 16, 15 range. And I think that's kind of where Gunnar Helm is going to live. So he's he's valuable for streamers, people that, don't maybe value the tight ends like Rich does and doesn't go up and kind of reach for some guys that have some higher upside. But if you're just trying to get a guy that you can throw in there week in and week out, like him and Dalton Schultz and Jake Ferguson would be a great 3-headed monster where you just pick the best matchup that week and put him in there.
Yeah, I'll everything you said, nice, real good catch radius, real nice hands. Had some good games, against Oklahoma. It was probably one of his best games out there. Had a real nice touchdown on a wheel route. But some of my concerns that came with him, though, I think you guys hit on all the good stuff for him. But I thought he was schemed there at Texas a little bit different. He had a lot of room to roam off the line. And if you watched the one game versus
they had some speed on that team.
Yeah, when you have Bond and Golden.
And Blue. I mean, all three of those guys are fast.
So he benefited from that because there's no press coverage whatsoever, which a tight end definitely, if you're going to stay within the 5, there's a lot to go there. So, but if you watch one game, they actually didn't do that and actually pressed him pretty hard. It was a Texas A&M game. And the A&M game, he had a lot of trouble, with the press coverage.
He's not overly physical.
So he's not physical at all. So that worries me a little bit as well. I thought, like, again, a lot of it was like he has no burst. His speed's okay, but no burst there either. I think a lot of that stuff was like fluff. So I think you summed up perfectly the Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson. You're right. He's on the outside of guys I want, but I would be more than happy to settle for him with the name on the board. And if he like the upside of him turn into like a Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz, which is, you know, a commodity, but like almost a roster clogger at the same time. But if he does feel that commodity for the short window, very valuable, right? Like, ooh, you're tight end 6, tight end 5 with a couple tight end 1 finishes.
I think he for sure will pop a couple of times in his career.
I think so too. Great name, Gunnar Helm too. So
sweet.
You're gonna sit around with that. So overall, fine player on the board, but you know, 4th round probably for me. For if he gets like a little bit better draft capital, in a good situation that needs a tight end, I can see him slipping, like bumping up to the 3rd round for me, which is gonna be player right around like 34, 35, right around over there. I'd be comfortable with that as well too. But again, because I think Garrett, like what you said, like, oh, I want a lot of these running backs. I always go back to like, yeah, I'm taking these running backs. I want to take these running backs, but I think a lot of these running backs as well are going to be, they're more likely to, like, Gunnar Helm can go up in value a little bit more. We're going to see a lot more of these running backs be like go down in value just because where they end up.
The nice part about the running back though is you know when to use them.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the hard part about tight end is like until they get up there, you have no idea. And
it's a patient, and that's the thing with tight ends.
You got to wait forever.
You
sometimes.
have to, It usually takes tight ends about 3 years to break out. So you have to be patient with these guys. Now, everybody's Brock Bowers or again Sam Laporta. We saw like this past year was an outlier. A lot of these tight ends don't come out year 1. It takes time, a lot of time. I mean, sometimes it takes 5 years. Like a guy like David Njoku's.
That's why I'm angry at Dalton Kincaid, but I haven't given up on him.
100%. Still love you, boo. All right. Before we go on to our next guy, again, we're telling you about our friends over at FastDraft Fantasy. They're still growing. The benefits are growing as well. You can use that promo code NERDS, make a deposit up to $50 and get 100% match. If you're looking for a best ball opportunity, this is your time to jump in. FastDraft is that lightning fast best ball platform where drafts take under 5 minutes. The rookie-only tournaments are in full swing for one more week and one more week only, so you can use this rookie knowledge to jump in these contests. I entered like 5 of them. They're a ton of fun. 2 of them I've missed because I enter the draft and I go to the bathroom and I come back and the draft's over. But it's okay because I set my board and it drafts the corner of my board, so I'm still okay with the draft. I learned the hard way the first time because like I don't need to set a board. I'm just going to draft. And I went to the bathroom and came back and it was over.
Just
I'm like,
auto-picked all the way
these aren't
through.
the guys I wanted. But I used the promo code NERDS. I had free money, so I was like, hey,
it'll probably be your best draft.
I was like, keep your own money, FastDraft. I love when it happens like an underdog. So right now they'll do that match deposit. Get in there, use the promo code NERDS. If you deposit at least $10, and you got to enter a contest. If you do that, not only are you going to get double your money, but Dynasty Nerds is going to send you a free year membership to Dynasty Nerds. You're going to get all access to the Nerd Herd, the app, the website, the film room, the Nerd Score, all that stuff. If you're an existing member, we're going to send you a shirt. The Origins drafts, like we mentioned last show, they're almost 90% filled as well, so time's running out. But then you'll have in-season stuff to play with as well. So get on there, download the FastDraft app, or go to draftfaster.com. Draft faster, win bigger with the promo code NERDS. Let's continue dominating these rookie drafts together. Promo code, t-shirts, free stuff. Who can't beat it? These are the best partners ever. Check them out, FastDraft.
All right, and make sure that you go over to FFPC. That's myffpc.com because they have tons of leagues that you can get into right now. It's startup season. You can head over there. You can get. There's some orphans left, not many. There's some orphans left, but the startups are really what you want to hit. You can hit a $35 startup. They even just announced their $100 startup, so kind of like that mid-range type of league you want to get into. But some of you guys are like, look, I'm tired of this, like playing small. Give me a $2,500 league. You can do that over at myffpc.com, and you don't have to worry about putting in all that money. And like, what if I dominate year 1 and everybody just quits after that? Like, you don't have to worry about that. They've never had a league fold. You're secure with that team there at myffpc.com. So head over there, use the promo code NERDS, get you an extra $25 off any type of league that you want. myffpc.com, promo code NERDS.
All right, let's get back into it here. Our next tight end is Oronde Gadsden Syracuse tight end, 6'4" and 5/8, 243 pounds, 10-inch hands. He's 21 years old. He'll be 22 at the end of June. He didn't run a 40 at the combine. He did do a broad jump of 114 inches and a vertical of 34 inches. Last year at Syracuse, in 13 games, he had 73 receptions, 934 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns. He did have 1 rush for 12 yards as well. He did that on 103 targets with 3 drops for a 3.9% drop rate, and he had 257 yards after the catch, which was only about 27.5% of his total.
He's a former wide receiver, right?
Yes.
Yeah, flipped to tight end because it shows too. Like he looks like a.
Yep. He's been at tight end for the past 2 years, but in 2023 he had a season-ending Liz Frank injury in the first quarter of the second game. So he didn't get much.
This guy's kind of like Devin Funchess.
There you go.
That's a comp. I mean, because if you look at his game, and this guy had 5 games with over 100 yards. In 2024. I mean, even you watch it versus Clemson, 7 catches, 112, a touchdown.
But unlike Devin Funchess, he's probably going to play tight end.
Yes, he's definitely playing. Massive wingspan, very big wingspan out
81 and 5/8 inch wingspan.
So he's really good at contested catches. Yep. Being a former wide receiver, like he knows how to adjust his routes when he needs to there. So he can kind of extend those plays a little bit like a wide receiver, which is nice. But I mean, you kind of totally tell why he moved to tight end. I mean, he has no acceleration. His hips are really tight. Not very good. Like, again, his deep, like in the third level, like is not good whatsoever. Man press coverage can stop him too. So like he's more of like the middle of the field kind of receiver there.
He's like a big slot.
He's a giant. It's exactly what he is. He's a big slot.
And
dirty little slot.
You were going to say that. I tell you, I already started laughing before you said it.
I said it because you started laughing. Dirty little slot.
Because that's what went through my head when I said it.
I picked it up.
Yeah, you did. I was dropping it. You picked it up. Anyway, he has no problem extending above his head. So all that kind of stuff, I think he's useful in that capacity. I don't know, like even at Syracuse, they were hiding him kind of off the line of scrimmage. Even when he was on the line, he was back, kind of almost as an H-back. So, I mean, I don't think there's any kind of pretense of him being a real tight end. I think what he's going to be for whatever team he's on is going to be a pass-catching specialist.
Big, dirty slot.
He's going to be a big, dirty slot. I mean, is this guy like a Marcus Colston type? You know what I mean? That if he goes to the right situation, if he goes to a Sean Payton offense, all of a sudden he finds a way to
Colston
make
was way more fluid than he is.
I think that's the thing I'm struggling with him. Like I expected him as a former receiver to be much more fluid, less tight-hipped, more athletic, and all of it just was kind of meh.
Colston was like a big, slow receiver.
Yeah, he was.
This guy's he's just a little too tight.
I don't know.
But I
have questions at what he could be.
I mean, Darren Waller made it work for a bit.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
would fall into a Darren Waller size,
tightness,
changing position.
Right. He's on my board. Like there's a lot of fantasy like upside there. I'm intrigued to where he goes in the NFL.
I'm
draft,
intrigued where he goes.
He could be a big slot.
I'm intrigued what designation he gets for position.
Oh, it's got to be tight end.
If it's 100% a tight end, I think I'm a lot more interested. If it's as a wide receiver of any kind, because let's say they view him as a big slot like I do, then I'm not that interested because I don't think he's going to put up special numbers for a wide receiver. But I think in tight end premium, I think he can put up some decent numbers.
It helps at the NFL Combine. They listed him at tight end.
Yeah.
So I
would like
think
him
there's
on
a
the
pretty
Rams.
good chance that's.
I'll just see him on the Rams with McVay.
Because he's kind of like those big, slow wide receivers, like a Jordan Whittington that they already have. You know what I mean? Like he could operate pretty similarly to them. They know how to use him there. I think there's offensive systems that would be able to utilize a guy like this.
Do you think he could be a legitimate red zone threat?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I'm seeing is like that's the ceiling. Like if you want to chase the ceiling, I think that's what it is for him is
because he doesn't offer much after the catch.
No, he doesn't.
Nothing.
But it's go up and get it. But he's decently sure-handed in traffic.
Yeah.
So as a slot receiver, whether he was lined up in the slot or on the outside, like you could just throw it up on the outside. But on the inside, he could catch a ball in the crowd. He's got pretty strong hands. So he's definitely you're right. He's on my board. I wanted him to be more athlete than he was.
Sure.
Yeah, you hear about these guys, Oronde Gadsden, or a former wide receiver. Like, oh, okay, this guy can be able to run some routes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can get a tight end that can run some good routes. You're like, this is nice. And maybe you're like, oh, maybe they probably moved it because he is 6'5", 243. Like, come on, you got.
It's on the edge of receiver.
Yeah,
tight
borderline.
end.
Like, maybe not as fast. And you watch him like, oh, now I know why they move you tight end because they're just trying to hope for something. Like, you're a big guy, you can catch and move.
I think it worked for them.
It did.
They got
He put up
900
numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
934 yards. So I mean,
For college, it worked.
that did work, and we'll see if. I mean, he's not going to get great capital though, draft capital, right? This is
Fourth, fifth.
I was going to say fifth, sixth guy. I mean, just.
If he goes before the 6th, that definitely intrigues me a little bit. Like,
Agreed.
if he goes in the
Yeah.
4th, like he goes up my board a little bit.
Okay.
If he goes in the 5th, he's probably
That's right where you expect him.
on the right team. He could be fine. Anything after that, like I'm out.
Because it's a big project. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big time. It's a lot to kind of overcome. All right. Anyway, Jake Briningstool.
Good thing
kid from
it
Clemson.
didn't take
Clemson
me
said it.
long to watch Jackson Hogs because
His best game has like 3 catches.
you literally said, except for that one guy, you're like kid from Georgia Tech.
I forgot we didn't actually keep him.
Sorry.
No,
Anyway,
thank you. It's the
I'm on
easiest tape I had to watch. I was like, this guy's just a
bad.
block and tell you.
That's my
He
bad.
owns no dynasty value.
This guy's not super exciting either.
Nope.
but-
Tight end, Clemson, 6'5" and 5/8", 241 pounds. He has 8 and 5/8 inch hands. He's 22 years old. He'll be 23 in December. He ran
Never
a
heard of him.
4.75 in the 40, a 1.6 10-yard split, 115-inch broad jump, 31-inch vertical. So none of those numbers are particularly great. At Clemson last year in 13 games, he had 49 receptions, 530 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns. He did that on 73 targets, 4 drops, 7.5% drop rate, so a little bit higher than some of these other guys we're talking about. And he had 243 yards after the catch, which was about 45.5%.
Well, it was interesting because
45.
for a tall guy at 6'6", pretty small hands at 8 and 5/8.
Did you hear me emphasize that?
Yeah, pretty small hands, pretty short arms.
Really small hands.
Like
31.5 inch arms.
Was kind of surprised that like those don't usually tie into a 6'6" guy. So he's kind of oddly proportioned. He did set school record, school record for receptions at tight end. So he caught a decent amount of passes there over his time, but he just didn't do a lot with them really. A couple seasons at 500 yards roughly each. He isn't a very explosive athlete. His hands were there. I saw a couple of those misses on tape or a couple of those drops on tape. But there were times though that I would see a nice like adjustment to a ball and see a nice catch.
I think he has pretty good hands. There's just going to be some
Maybe
times,
a little inconsistent.
I was going to say there's just going to be some times where he's just going to flub one and just drop one. So yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's any big time issues with his hands though.
He was used both as a blocker and a receiver. So you see a decent amount of his blocking. He's not a bad blocker.
I wrote he's good. He's not great.
Yeah, not a bad blocker, but that doesn't help us for fantasy.
Not
So
at all.
I could see a team saying, at 6'6", if we can add 15, 20 pounds to this kid, he could be a really good blocker for us.
And he puts in good effort.
He does.
In the blocking
He
game.
tries really hard in the running game. So even though yes, he set the school record and things like that, and he's got college bloodlines. His dad played college football and stuff like that. So
What's his name?
it's Jake Briningstool
I'll forget that.
or Briningstool.
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 Yeah.
Berenstein or Berenstein?
Briningstool.
I don't know.
Berenstein Bears.
Briningstool.
So I don't want to say he's off my board, but he's pretty darn close.
Not on my board.
He's not right. He's not a super explosive guy. There's not a lot of burst or the 31-inch vertical. You know what I mean? Like those are kind of telling numbers. I think as far as kind of shows who he is. Almost 60% of his snaps came from the slot, which I think is kind of how he got to where he got 530 yards. So he was running a lot of routes out there. I don't know that he's a guy that I'm going to be interested before like a 6th round fly. You know what I mean? Like a 6th round
I'll have to
flyer.
go back and watch the tape. This is great.
He's not that great.
All
So
right, then who's next on the list?
all right.
Last but not least,
This is it.
Mitchell Evans, wide receiver, Notre Dame, 6'5" and 3/8", 258 pounds, big boy, huh? 9.5 inch hands. He's 22 years old. He just turned 22 In March, he ran a 4.74 in the 40. He had a 1.55 10-yard split, a 7.25 3-cone, 115-inch broad jump, 31-inch vertical. Another one of these kind of non-super athletic guys. He had a 20-yard shuttle of 4.4. Last year at Notre Dame in 16 games, he had 43 receptions, 421 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, and he did that on 59 targets, three drops for a 6.5% drop rate, and he had 188 yards after the catch.
Wadsworth, Ohio.
Wadsworth, Ohio, if you say so.
Yeah, Mitchell Evans, somebody I want to give the benefit of the doubt to as well, and he's on my board because he tore his ACL at the end of the 2023 season, so he came into 2024 coming off that. We all know it usually takes a year to come back, so I hate watching players like that because it's kind of hard to get that. Like
they can sometimes surprise at the next level because they're finally healthy.
100%. And when you watch his tape, you do see some stuff there. Like I thought he had a good, nice job getting in and out of his breaks. I thought he did a good job there. Had a little burst there. Did handle defensive backs pretty well. So used his size actually. Some of these guys you can play like, dude, you're this big guy. Use it. Like he actually uses it a ton.
So his breaks, I had the same note about him getting in and out of his breaks. But I thought he looked slow and lethargic at other times. Like he looked great coming out of his breaks and kind of quick, but other times I was like, where the hell? Where was the quickness?
And that's the thing though, that could be like the knee. Like is he a little worried there? Like is he taking up? And that's what I meant by it. Like I want to give him a little bit of the doubt because there's a couple of things I saw in here. Like I'm with you. Like dude, you get on your breaks pretty nice, but then there's other times like you're not like. So I was like, okay, maybe it is the ACL injury, and sometimes it takes people to like feel that it's just confidence. Even when he's healthy, being that young, to be confident. So I thought he did that. I thought he caught with his hands really well. So he's a hand catcher, was really nice. Another really big catch radius is real big. Versus Texas A&M, he had a really nice diving grab where he dove out and fully extended for the football. Again, now this is a guy who actually can block pretty well.
He's actually a very
which is going to help up some of his.
It's one of the better blockers.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to help up his board as well. But again, I mean, there's nothing near yards after the catch wise.
Almost none.
Yeah, like literally non-existent there.
There's nothing special with the ball in his hands, and he's more of a big, tough runner. That's it. Like he's just a big, burly dude.
Yes, I mean he had a foot injury in 22. He tore his ACL in 23. So there's
an injury history.
You have to worry about these big guys that carry that weight. Like that, they get hurt. Injury history when you're in college like this is a huge concern because Bernie Kosar here says all the time, like injuries don't get better. They only get worse. Like, and everyone, like you could be healthy, but it's there. Like that happened. Like you had surgery, you had an injury. Like you are not the same as you were before. Yeah. Yes. So it adds up. So you got to take that note. And definitely these guys are like real big. They have to carry that and put all that stress on their joints. A guy who weighs 258, 6'5". Like, for the most part of human history, nature hasn't made it so guys can move like that,
right?
And carry that. So overall, I like some things that I saw on him. Again, I think it falls in the category of everybody else. We kind of talked about that. We kind of liked like how's he gonna be involved in offense? Is he gonna be peppered with the ball?
He's another volume guy.
He's got to be a volume guy, but it can if he does.
He's another volume guy unless what we saw last year on tape was him getting healthy, and there's another gear maybe that's
that's the thing that keeps me intrigued with him.
Me too.
Like I think I'll take more flyers on him than I will some of the other guys.
Flyer being 5th round, flyer being 4th round. I'm cool with it in like the 5th round.
Yeah, I think 5th round.
That's where I have him out too.
Yeah, and that's that. Yeah, I'm not using unless we get surprised and he's like in the end of the 2nd round, early 3rd round of the draft. I expect more like a 4th round type of guy that I think a team could mold. He's got a lot of moldable attributes.
Well, this dude kind of reminds me of Michael. I know it's like a school on school. He kind of reminds me of Michael Mayer. In that he blocks really well and he's not overly fast, but I think he does enough good things.
And Notre Dame does a good job with their tight ends. Zach Rudolph went there, and so I mean, or not Zach Rudolph.
Didn't he?
Is it Zach Rudolph? That's not the NBA. Is that the NBA player?
No, Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah,
Zach Rudolph's NBA. Yeah,
you had me convinced.
Kyle Rudolph had 3 touchdowns in a Pro Bowl.
Yeah. So I mean, they have
in the Pro Bowl.
They have history of putting out some solid tight ends and whatnot.
Sweet,
too.
Man.
Former Viking.
He is a former Viking.
Yeah. So there's enough there, and with the injuries, you do have to worry about that a little bit. But at the area you're taking him, who cares? Like, is there ceiling? And I think there's enough ceiling for him to be an all-around tight end at the next level, which, yes, that's not great for fantasy, but sometimes that's how guys get on the field, is because they're good all-around tight ends. And then it's like, oh, crap, he catches pretty well too. And they get an expanded role in that way. So I think it could start off as a blocking route for him more, and then it could expand into more, or it could just stay there. And that's a bummer, but at least there's a chance there. There's enough in the receiving game.
I mean, that's the true Gary Barnidge, right? I mean, Gary Barnidge was basically a blocking guy. And then all of a sudden
caught one football with his feet.
And then we're all in, baby.
It was awesome. Gare Bear for 1 year. There's a tight end. So, Mitchell Evans is on my board. I think
so many.
I think he's a great 5th round flyer. Like, these are the kind of guys you want to draft in the 5th round. Like a position, like a unique position. Tight ends, running backs are like what I really like to focus on late in my draft. He fits that to a T. Like, hope if it's not, easy cut bait to 5th round pick. Who gives a shite, right? So. That's it. That is our 2025 rookie breakdowns. We're going to do the couple guys we didn't cover, like, again, the Land Larison on the Nerd Herd episode. If you want to join the Nerd Herd, you get that episode as well. You can just join FastDraft, deposit $10. You get that show along with all the tools. So that's it. So we have now just went over a boatload of prospects for you and got to end here with the tight ends. So that's a lot of names, a lot to digest. I think we're all in agreement here that this class, the 2025 class, at least how I feel, is probably the closest grades I've given out in 11 years. Matt and I have been doing this and grading players for the podcast, where I feel way more comfortable putting these guys in tiers right now. Yeah. Still rank them, but put them in tiers. Like, same thing, like, oh, you have him here and him here. Like, okay, they're in the same tier. Like, I'm not going to argue.
I think there's a few outliers that are head and shoulders above all those guys, and then it's kind of
and that's why messy. I think I have like 5 or 6 tiers here. So the NFL draft will define that. And remember, we do this off of tape. These are tape grades, but we don't do tape grades like we're NFL teams. We tape grade these players with Dynasty fantasy football in mind. And that's what we've done. We've had a ton of success with it over the last 11 years. Something I've been very proud of the work we've accomplished. Where everybody else goes left, we'll go right. Same thing. Maybe we'll be wrong here and there, but for the most part, we've had a pretty good success rate, and I think even the Nerd Score kind of shows that as well. So next week, what we're going to do is, now that we've broken down all these players, where do they stack up?
Draft them.
How do we rank them? So we'll be joined, I think, probably by Jared Wackerly next week. So we're doing a remote next week because I have my travel baseball season for my son kicks off. So we'll be doing a remote as we get ready for New York. And we're going to draft these players. So where do we grade these players before the NFL draft? And if you ever have anybody that says, what is the point of all this? I'm just waiting for the NFL draft. I'm going to say this for somebody who's been playing Dynasty for 22 years is I think it's very important, because sometimes you have to take these tape grades and where these players stand on merit alone and how they look. And you have to give that some weight, because a lot of times the NFL draft's going to come along and these players are going to get drafted higher than they should. Or, we'll see these guys all the time, these receivers, definitely these speedy guys, like even like the Browns last year, Jamari Thrash is going like the 3rd, 4th round, Anthony Schwartz they go draft high. And if you just go by NFL draft capital, you're going to lose a lot. So what I like to do is I take the tape grades, I let that hold a good weight, right? And then I take the draft as well, and I let that hold good weight, and then you mix them together. And that's how you get your overall rankings. Because you're right, pre-draft rankings, they're not the end all be all, but it gives you a good idea and a good foundation to build on.
And I think that's the thing, that it's the foundation, it's the skeleton that you work from, because unless somebody's getting drastically different draft capital than you expect, we usually, for most of these guys, have a pretty good idea heading in to the draft of, this guy's probably a 2nd rounder. Oh, he was the last pick of the 1st. Okay. Is there a huge difference there? A little bit, but nothing huge. Maybe he'll move up a little bit or something like that. It's when it's the 1st round or the 3rd round or something like that. Okay. Now that changes where they're at. But for me, like, this is the basis for what my rankings are. Like, I'll move them up 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah.
I'll move them down 2 or 3 spots, but they're going to stay in this general range because they're that talented of a player, unless the NFL tells me I was way off in where I thought they would be drafted.
And sometimes the way off part of it is something we didn't know from an off field or from a medical or something like that we just don't have access to. And that's another kind of, hey, the tape said this, they got drafted way back here in the 3rd round. I thought he was going to be a 1st round guy. Let's figure out what that disconnect was and why there was such a big time difference.
And a good thing like that could be from a negative, like you said, we don't move players down. And sometimes you have to, like, what I've learned is like to be fluid in this and pay attention to everything. Because a player that reminds me of like a guy we were really big on, thought 100% was going to be a 1st round draft pick. It was Hakeem Butler. And he ends up slipping in the draft. Like, how does he not take him? How does he not take him? And it's like, okay, maybe we should have like readjusted there when he slipped that far and that many receivers went ahead in the NFL draft.
3. Yeah.
We probably missed something here, right? But then you're like, no, I had him on my tape grade this high. And the biggest thing too is running backs, right? Running backs go so much later in the draft. Like, you have to stick to the tape and their skill sets and what you like. And then if there's any path for them, you kind of keep them in that same tier. And you hope your league mates go off. We're in leagues that we've been playing Dynasty with people for 20 years, and they still use the NFL draft.
Who was the next receiver taken? All right, that's who I'm taking.
That's who I'm taking. I need a wide receiver. That's who I'm taking.
We'll draft them next week. Like I said, then we're going to drive out to New York, spend some time there, get ready for the year the Dynasty Nerds have. Like I said, if you're not a member of the Dynasty, if you're not a member of the Nerd Herd, there's never a time to join because we have a great partner in FastDraft that lets you join for the price of $10. And if you had the app and you've been a Nerd Herd member just in the past 12 months or 18 months, you've seen how much it's grown. If you join now, what's going to really give you the opportunity to do for only $10 is not only see like how cool it is right now, but you're going to be like, this time next year when it's time for you to renew, you're going to be like, oh my God, I got so much more stuff in here. For what we have planned for the Nerd Herd, it's to say one-stop shop it's kind of like, what is the best way to describe it? We have a lot of good stuff coming. I predict 2025 is going to be the biggest growth for Dynasty Nerds from a tool standpoint and what you get with the Rookie Guide coming out any day now. And again, a data hub, so much more to come for everybody to use, even including some games possibly. So for you to get in now is such a great opportunity to join the Nerd Herd. Price of a cup of coffee a month, and it's going to really help your Dynasty fantasy football leagues and where you finish. So check that out. We'll get in there. And then remember, Sunday after the NFL draft, to remind you next week as well, we will have a show out Sunday night of us drafting. I think we're going to put both episodes out back to back. Almost.
I think, I think we'll probably put
normally do, right?
Yeah, both of them back to back. So yeah, by Monday morning, you'll have that ready and queued up for you.
Yeah. And we'll do so basically we're doing mock draft and then mock draft basically of all these players. So you'll have the mock draft pre-tape and mock draft post-tape. So thanks for listening. It's been fun. I'm always elated when we're all done because I have so much more free time, I feel like, now in my hands.
So much more room for activities.
So we're back next week, Nerd Herd, with more Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Adios.